the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt. The hunting journey continues. Let's get into it. Jeez, it's been a big week this week. I have never seen so many articles in the news about deer as I have this week. ABC, Channel 9, Channel 7, I think it was even on TV tonight. So, look, I'm still waiting for some advocacy. I'm just sit back and go, where are the big bodies? Where are they doing what the Invasive Species Council are doing? Because that's who's putting this out. They're the ones getting interviewed on ABC. They're the ones getting interviewed on TV. And the rhetoric they're pushing is, some of it's just so unsubstantiated. One of the things I read was about one farmer talking about and giving his opinion on the fact that they need aerial culling in state forests because he sees so many deer and that recreational hunters are not effective. One farmer with no evidence, no data, and they're plastering all this and being supported by the Invasive Species Council. So I sit there and go, where are the people talking for hunters? Where are the people trying to get it out and about to actually not lose ground? Because I'm sick as a hunter of losing ground. So tonight, there's some change in the air, I feel. So I have a young lady joining us who is down there in Victoria with the upcoming elections for the board on SSAA. And she's put a name in the ring along with a few others, wanting to bring about some positive change for hunters and shooters. And I'm really keen to talk to you tonight. So we have Tegan Careri-Wilson.
Yes.
And she is joining us tonight to talk about what her and her colleagues are running for, what they're pitching, and why this change is needed. And I think we do definitely need a change in the SSAA. Welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very glad that you reached out because we do need change. And I am here at the age of 22, standing alongside a group of, there's four of us and there's 4 positions open. And we all want to reset the direction of the SSAA. And within that would just create a movement of change that we need. And the group that I'm standing with, we have a balance. We have a balance of youth, we have a balance of business experience, ex and current employees, ex-board members of the SSAA, advisors of government, and we all have the same goal in mind. We want to promote hunting, but we also want to address the issues that are current, and we want to see it for generations to come. I don't want to be sitting down when I'm 30, 40, looking back, being like the good old times when we could go hunting, when we could do this. No, I want to be doing that. I want to be sharing that with my kids, my grandkids, forever. I don't want to have to think of it as the pastime. We're standing because we're sick of the lack of representation. It's all very well to say we're doing stuff, but what are you doing? Show us, communicate it with us. Why don't you ask us what we want as the members? Because we're a members club.
I'm in such agreement there because I both shoot and hunt. And I love both. And if I have both hats on at any one time or have them individually, as a target shooter, probably I feel really represented by the SSAA. As a hunter, I really have no idea what's going on and where they are advocating for what we're doing. And, an example of that would be the National Feral Deer Action Plan, which I covered really thoroughly with my last podcast. We've got a SSAA member on there, and I think when we broke down the actual plan, which is currently being pushed very heavily in the news, mind you, and we knew that was what they were trying to achieve, the SSAA member got maybe hunters in there, recreational hunters, maybe 4 or 5 times. The number of times poison was in there was close to 100. The number of times aerial culling and professional shooters was massive. And I sit there and go, how is this person on this team and they're supposed to be representing hunters and they're really not vocal or pushing the facts and the data? Because today, $91 million it costs the economy. Hold on, we're the 4th largest revenue up here in New South Wales from the DPI as a primary industry. We earn heaps more than 91 million. Where is that? Why are we not pushing that in that advocacy for hunters, I feel we're just an afterthought with the SSAA sometimes. So it's really interesting to see, firstly, a 22-year-old female stepping up. That's awesome, because I've said a long time now is we need more females in the sport. We need to have a environment where females want to get involved, because Kate Fantanel, Lady Liberty over there in WA, we had her on the last podcast and she made some great points. And she said at one stage that in WA with all the caliber bands, they got together and had a speaker in there and they said, where's all the women? There was 2 out of 105 or something like that. Don't quote me those exact figures. And that's a massive issue, because straight away we're losing half the population. So it's good to see someone stepping up. We've got Khadijah up here in New South Wales, she does such a great job. And people like Kate, who was with the SSAA national team for a while there before she left. That's excellent. We need more of that. So it's very interesting as sort of a 40-year-old bloke here, seeing a young lady going, hey, I want to do this. Because I'll tell you what, at 22, I definitely wasn't thinking about sitting on a board.
Yeah, it's not something that's common. But in saying that, like, it needs to happen. I mean, I'm 22. It's not the most exciting thing that I want to be doing, but it's something that needs to be done. And I feel like I can really bring a positive light and a new set of eyes, because I see the world very differently to most middle-aged men. And I've been exposed to different things. I know how to work social media more so than most. And I feel like I can really contribute a lot of positive change to the association and to our sport.
And that's where I think the 4 of you, and I'll get you to give the social media details in a second. I think the 4 of you is a really nice balance. And looking at it, you all are value adding, and there's something different from everyone that can be put together as a team to push forward. And I like that. It actually gets me excited to see, hey, this could be the change the SSAA needs. This could be something that's going to really be beneficial to shooters. Now, I understand it's only in Victoria, but the ball's got to start somewhere. And, hey, we're losing a lot of ground in Vic, like duck hunting. We had Danny from Field and Game Australia on the chairperson down there previous, and he's fighting it. And I'm sitting there going, hold on, Field and Game don't have half the resources the SSAA are. Where is the
Definitely.
help?
And just to touch base on who I am standing with and what we all represent. So we have David Croft, who is a field hunter president. So if people don't know, the SSAA is mainly made up of the sub-clubs. So I myself am president of the Deer Stalkers Club. David Croft is president of the Field Hunters. He's a very astute man. He's very to the point. He worked at state office at one point, so he knows how it runs. He was part of the making of the CPM program, and he wants to see things go back to how it was when he had control over the organisation to a degree. We have Alan Stoops, who he wants to see where we went wrong. He wants a forensic investigation and to see what it is we did wrong so we don't do it again. We have Graham Blair. He represents the regional rangers. He wants to know why we've been left out, why they've been left out. Why is all the funding going to certain places and not going to regional? They don't have half as much representation as us Melbourne branches do. And together, the 4 of us, we all have the same goal, yet we all have different ways of how we're going to go about it. But together, and I cannot stress enough, together, we can make a change.
Again, the together word is so important. And I haven't been in hunting side of things for a great deal of time, probably since sort of 2016. But I've had my license for a long time, and I used to just target shoot and whatnot. And I've been in that for a damn long time. The togetherness is something that I really feel in the hunting community is not there. Everyone sort of wants to look after their own little patch or look after their own little interests. And I think that's where a lot of our issues are stemming from, because united with the numbers that we have for shooters, hunters, hell, I would like it extended to get fishers on board. Let's get, four-wheel drivers on board. Let's make an alliance or, a team that of all people that enjoy the outdoors for different reasons. And that's the key. That's the numbers, because at the end of the day, the politics side of things is numbers. People want to get elected because that's a job. That's the paycheck. If it's cool and popular to be against hunters, well, what are they going to pick? And That is where we need to do a far better job than what we're doing, because we're losing traction. We're constantly losing ground, and it's seen at the moment. Caliber bans in WA, bow hunting wanting to be banned in South Australia, bow hunting being on the list by the AJP and Georgie Purcell down in Vic, duck hunting half a season, if that. And, the list just keeps going on and on. And there was something up in Queensland the other day that I'm not all over, so I don't want to comment too much. This is a problem. This is where we need that togetherness, that ability to be able to go, hey, this is all the things that we need to fix. I'm really curious. You said you've been the president of the Deer Stalkers Association. Geez, I don't even remember, my 18, on for a variety of reasons that involve way too much alcohol. What's your backstory? Why is it at 22 you're so passionate about stepping up and leading the way and leading the charge forward? What's your story?
What's my story? So I started hunting with my dad at the age of 8 years old. So I started hunting with my dad because it was something my brothers did and I didn't want to be left out. Now I have one older brother and one younger brother who I love dearly, and neither of them are hunters to this day. My older brother a little bit, but not much. My mum, she's a vegetarian. So kind of had all the odds against me.
Okay.
When I started hunting, my dad refused to buy any smaller hunting gear because he didn't think I'd get into it. So I was walking around the hills in boots that were 3 sizes too big, pants that I had to roll up 4 times, a backpack that touched the ground, and gaiters that went past my knees. But I proved them wrong in the end. So I started hunting at 8 years old, and I fell in love with the bush and being out in nature and having no care, like nothing to worry about. And that became a lot more stronger when I turned a little bit older, because society, being society, it was an escape route, and it was really beautiful. Shot my first deer at 12 years old, and I was hooked. From there, my dad took me to a deer stalkers meeting when I was freshly 14 years old, and I just thought we were going out for dinner. Turns out it was their annual general meeting, and they were looking for an editor at the time for their monthly magazine, and my dad actually put his hand up, but he was actually putting my hand up without me knowing. So I didn't know what was happening that day, but a few days later, Dad approached me and goes, "How would you like to be an editor?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, why not?" Anyway, I continued that role from the age of 14 all the way up to the age of 18. And I did it because I loved it. And the meetings became more than just meetings to me. They were a place where I could go and I could actually talk about something that I loved. Because there's not many 14-year-old females that go hunting. So I didn't really have any like-minded people around me. And I felt like I was part of something bigger. And my dad always said to me was, a club is not what you can get, a club is what you can give. And I took that on and I thought, how can I make positive change within the club? So when I got voted on at the age of 18, it was a huge, if not one of the biggest achievements I've done. And yeah, and I made a promise to myself to leave the club better than I found it. I got voted in as vice president at 18. I got voted in as president this year at the age of 22. And I love it. The club is like a second home to me. And then my background in shooting and hunting. So hunting since the age of 8. I've hunted all over Australia. I've started hunting in New Zealand. Yeah, I just love it. I started working at the SSAA Springvale Gun Range in the year of 2020. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with teaching people how to shoot, and I felt that I could really connect with the younger generation. As all the range officers were a lot older, the young kids that were there to shoot, because anyone can go there and shoot, they felt too intimidated to ask questions, but you could tell that they wanted to learn. And I really loved when I'd see like a family come in and they wanted to come and shoot. So they'd walk in, you go through the safety briefing with them, and you could normally tell one of them wasn't as comfortable as the others, and they kind of just get left behind. So I'd always make the conscious effort to spend a little bit more time with that person, whatever age, whatever gender they were. And I could tell they appreciate it, and they'd always come back and they'd have the better target compared to the rest of their family. And the smile on their face is priceless. It was the most rewarding thing anyone could ever ask for. I even taught a blind guy how to shoot once. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, wow.
So Yeah, I still work for the SSAA down at their Geelong range, no longer at their Springvale range, but down at Eagle Park, it's just the same. I love it. It's not a job. It's, yeah, when they say you do something you love, you don't work a day in your life. That was that job for me. Unfortunately, I've now had to change career paths. I'm now in the construction industry and still absolutely loving it and kicking goals every day.
I can really understand what you're saying there, is that sometimes you can go to places and they're not welcoming, or they're not I'm very lucky. I shoot at the Silverdale branch up here in Sydney, and it's fantastic. The people that run it, very down to earth, great people. Luke does a fantastic job out there. It's not always like that, though. I've been to other branches, or other ranges, I should say, and it is that very confronting sort of thing. You don't feel like people are there to help. And look, this is where it gets really tricky too, because our range officers, I'm not sure if they get paid. I don't think they do. You probably be able to tell me better than what I know. But you need people that are doing the job. But it is a thankless job as well, and I can empathize with where they're at and what they deal with sometimes, and people doing the wrong thing accidentally, but I can see how it would get frustrated. And I've heard some comments and things that I sort of went, it's not ideal if we're trying to grow the sport. And you can see they're a new person that made a mistake, and there is a lot to go. When I went back after COVID and having such a long break, I really had to think about what the rules were and what to do, because it had been such a long break. So thankfully, as I said, the guys at Silverdale do a fantastic job, and that's why I continue to go back there regularly. But yeah, no, look, that's fantastic to hear, because I'm a teacher, and seeing young people do something they love and to educate and see them grow is why I, do what I do. I love my job. And I sit there and go, you can see that you've got so much passion, because there are all these additional things that you're doing at such a young age, and in a hobby that is not very female dominated. I think that's an understatement of the century, but that's fantastic, because we need people like you. We need a variety of people making those informed decisions. And I liked what you said before about your ability to use social media. And I feel that is where a lot of our, I won't say enemies, because I don't think they're enemies. There are some things that I think we can see eye to eye on. It's just the way to go about things moving forward. So I sort of sit there and go, whether it be the Invasive Species Council, or it be the AJP, or it be the Greens, or it be any of those types, there's got to be some common ground, and there's got to be a way to get to the younger generations and get more people into hunting and get more people into shooting. And that's the key. Numbers are key. As I said, I touch on it all the time.
Agreed.
We need more hunters and shooters. You cannot sit there and say we want people that are anti-hunting to come on our side, because they're not going to stand up. And I mean, hell, I think hunters do a poor job, and I'm sorry if I offend our listeners, but hunters do a poor job of standing up, and hunters do a poor job of advocating for what we have and sticking together. And that is something that we need to get better at if we want to continue doing it. And we can't just have the mindset of, I've got the property I shoot on. If we lose this, it's no big deal because I'm okay. Well, that's short-sighted, and we can't be short-sighted, because these other groups, they're thinking 10 years ahead. They've got the map and they've got the game plan, and they're playing chess and we're playing checkers. And that's clear to see what is happening. That National Feral Deer Action Plan, it was so fraught with misinformation in it, but they're already calling for it, and they're smart. They've spent a lot of time and money to say, hey, here is the document. And you can see in these news articles, they're referencing it already, saying it needs to be implemented ASAP. They just want to poison. That's the end goal here. But hunters are like, I won't get in.
Yeah.
Oh, they're nobodies. Don't worry. Well, hey, they just have to go to the departments and go, hey, we've already got the document here. We've done all the hard work for you. You just need to grab it. And they only need a couple of people to go, oh, that's great. Makes me look good if we do this. And they've done all the work, and I get the pat on the back. Yeah. And we're in big trouble.
100%. Like, where are we? Like, we're going there. We have nothing in our hands to show. We're making it too easy for them.
What's the way forward? How do you guys get in how much change can really occur? Because that's the other thing that I've always wondered about is, is it a bit like, oh, we'll get new members in, but you sort of get there and then the confinements of just the system really sort of hamstring you and you can't do that much? Or is there the ability to go, we can really make a massive change? People won't even recognize what we're going to do.
Yes, definitely. We have a 100-day plan to reinvent the SSAA. And it's not so much about new members, it's more about our existing members. Listening to them, going back to being a members organisation. And it's about asking the difficult questions and it's about answering the difficult questions. And we definitely got to keep getting new members, but we really got to keep the retention on the members we have. And it's all about changing the mindset of someone else is going to do it, and actually standing up and doing something. That's where if we can shift that and we go, now is the time that we need to stand up, this is the time, then I think major change can happen. I'm not going to go into too much of what we have planned, but I do think that if the four of us are elected, some big things can happen, big positive things. And I can't stress the positive enough. Like, we're not here to change anything in a negative way. All we don't have hidden agendas or anything like that. We just want to see the future of the sport for generations to come. I really stand here and I want to be a voice for women, and I hope that women can see me and put their faith in me that I'm going to represent them to the best of my ability. That's all I want. Yeah, I think there is big potential for change if we get in.
I'm a father of a daughter, just, only a year old. She's a twin. And I sit there and I'm excited to see where my kids go and grow and things like that. So to have someone, again, I'll stress this, someone so young, and you are, like, compared to myself who's 40, or nearly 40, I should say. But compared to myself, I sit there and go, this obviously means a lot, but it's also extremely important to have a young voice, because I know a lot of older people think they know everything, and there is a lot of experience in older people. I definitely agree with that. But most people really are hard to change their mindset and to change their ways. And that is a problem if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Now, if we continue along the same path that's been happening, where's the end point? That's the scary thing for me, is that I sit there and you can jump up and down and blame John Howard and all these other things that people do. And they have, I get where they're coming from, but we've also got to take some accountability here and go, well, why have we not come together as a massive collective to really force our numbers, to sit people down, to get people from all different walks of life, all the different clubs, and have a united front? That to me is a big thing to go forward. And then SSAA have the resources financially. They've got the most members. They should be the loudest voice in the room. I don't think they are. I might be wrong, but I don't think they are.
This is another key thing. Less than 5% of members vote at their AGMs. 5%. We have over 40,000 members in Victoria alone. You do the maths, that's not a lot at all. To me, that screams the members have given up.
Is it given up, or is it just that they've just accepting that it's the way it is and it's the way it's going to continue?
We're never going to change it.
And that's what I do feel. I sit there and go, oh, we don't have the ability to make massive change, and we don't have the ability to somehow get everybody together. And I don't even know how you'd go about that or start to go about that. But it is definitely something that we need to be thinking about, going, it needs to happen. And I read so much about people complaining about the SSAA, or when someone jumps onto a Facebook group and asks, where should I go? What should I join? And the amount of people I see just bag out SSAA, that's not good, because that's the leading body. That's the body we should all be sort of saying, hey, you guys are the pinnacle. We need to support, promote, have people jumping on to say SSAA is awesome.
Yeah.
They're doing this for our rights.
I could not agree more. And I think that with the four of us, we can bring the organisation back to being that organisation where people can put their trust in and their faith in and know that we're going to do something about it. Something's going to happen. Something's going to change for positive, of course.
When change occurs, there's a lot of people that are really hesitant for it. And, I'm big on talking about the growth mindset. that you should always be trying to strive for better tomorrow than you are today. And if you're doing that, you're always going to grow as a person, and you're going to be, get more intelligent. You're going to be open-minded to different ways and learn different things. And that is the key. And this is where I sort of alluded to it before, saying that the older generation sometimes, and I'm getting close to that older generation, we sometimes can not change the way or the habits, or people are afraid of change. And this is something that I think is where we're currently, the course correction needs to occur. We've been on this course for a while. It's not working well. So we need to alter course. We need to work out. And I'm, obviously up here in New South Wales, so I can't vote for down there, but I am encouraging people to definitely check out you guys and say, hey, do some more research, have a good read, jump on the socials, and it's all there in black and white, because this is the time that they might jump on, read about you guys and say, not for me. And that's cool. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to say, be open-minded and have a read and see if there's something there that you can understand that could be a benefit. And if it is, then vote. Because if you don't vote, you can't complain about what's going on. And as you said, 5%, that's minimal. And maybe it is something that, we need to look at, because it's not that hard. It comes out in the mail, you tick a couple of boxes and you mail it back. I mean, that's not an onerous task where you're sitting there going, I don't know how to use the technology, or I don't, have to travel an hour to a meeting to vote. I mean, the reality is that it's there. It's easy to do. When are they due? That's probably important for our Vic listeners. And I appreciate if you're not from Victoria, you might be sitting there going, this doesn't really impact me. I'd slightly disagree, because if some change comes in Vic and Vic's looking really good, it's going to flow over to the other states. So I do think it's very important no matter where you're from.
So your voting is due on the 25th of August. If you are a double star member and you can vote this election, you should, because your vote is absolutely necessary to making a change in the shooting industry and ensuring our future is strong. The antis never give up, so that means we have to never give up. My colleagues and I want to make sure that we are able to follow on our past times and pass it on to the future generations. We want to see a change. We're happy to be the change. We just need your support. Tell your friends, tell your family. It's really simple. 4 X's in 4 boxes. Don't put numbers. Don't put more than 4 X's on the card. Send it back in the prepaid envelope and make a change this year. Say no to more of the same, because it's clearly not working. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. We are called the Shooters Action Group. Once again, we are Graham Blair, David Croft, Alan Stoops, and myself, Tegan Careri-Wilson.
Look, it's important, and I think the more people that see here and are on top of this, the better. And, I'd like to see some change. You might disagree with me, and you're allowed to do that. I definitely sometimes disagree with myself. But if you're in Vic and you are looking at these things, it is something that we need to start paying attention. I know politics, people sometimes don't want to talk about and they don't care. And that is one of the things I think as I get older, I am paying far more attention, because as I've said before, I want to leave hunting and shooting to my kids and their grandkids. And I'm really concerned that this is not going to happen in the future, because we have so many things up against us at the moment, and we really do need to start working on it. So if you are listening and you have a mate in Vic and they're a member of the SSAA, give them a call. Get on their back to actually stand up and vote. Don't waste a vote, because it's important that we're represented. And it's something that I know I vote. And you can't complain if you don't take action yourself. So it's super important. Have a good look at it and really check it out, because it's key. It's key for our future. And if you like doing what you're doing, you need to start stepping up. So what's the term? Is it a 12-month term?
It's 3 years.
Okay, so it's big.
Yes.
All right, so
we're in it for the long haul.
This is a big commitment, 3 years, and it's a long time between drinks for people to have a say. This is your chance to have a say, because you're getting this for the next 3 years. So I'd be invested personally, especially with what's happening in Vic. Let's be honest.
Yep.
If you are a duck hunter and you remember the SSAA, you should be jumping up and down going, where are you guys advocating for our rights? Because I'm not down there, but I haven't seen as much as I'd like. I know that. And I don't even shoot down there.
Yeah, well, they start with dog hunters, they go to bow hunters, and they just, where do they stop? They don't stop.
It's a chip away.
Yeah.
And they're smart. They chip away little chips. They just keep chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And it's the flow-on effect. And this is where the problem is across the states. And this is why I'm calling out people saying, hey, if you know someone down in Vic, get them to have a look at this, because it starts in South Australia and then it flowed on to Victoria.
Yep.
Where's next?
Exactly.
What state are they going to come after next? Because that's what they're doing. And they're saying, hey, the precedent's been set in this state. We've got to do that too. We need to make sure that we're fighting this and be the positive change, guys. That's something you need to do. We need to be that positive change, and we need to step up as hunters.
Yep. So everything in my life revolves around shooting and hunting. And I am really passionate about it. And I really want to be able to carry this on to my kids, to my grandkids. And it's all good and well to say this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But if you're not willing to do anything about it, what good is complaining? So complain all you want, but at least vote and make a change. Because if you complain, we'll listen to you.
All right, so let's get into the hunting side of things, because we are a hunting podcast, and it is, I know our listeners are out there going, well, what does she hunt? So what is your favourite thing to chase?
Oh, that's a hard one. I have to be Samba. Samba are my favourite to hunt.
Is that just a Victoria thing? Like, you know, everyone I speak to down there, I call you guys Mexicans, so I'm just putting it out there straight up. But, you know, everyone I talk to down there is just Samba, Samba, Samba.
Well, it's right at our doorstep. And I don't know, have you done much Samba hunting?
Okay, so I haven't even got my first deer yet.
Okay.
So I'm a state forest hunter, so it's a tough slog in the state forest. I am very much, I like to learn on my own. So I haven't got a mentor, or I haven't gone down that pathway. So I've always been I learn by making mistakes.
Yeah.
So I've had a bit of an interesting run. You know, COVID stuffed me up. I was really getting close, and then the bushfires wiped out where I was hunting.
Yep.
Then obviously COVID. Then I've started a family, and you know it's been crazy. So I haven't really got out a heap. And that's actually one of the reasons I started the podcast, was because I was sitting there having twins and going, I'm not going to have any time to go out. I at least want to be talking about hunting, and that's where this all sort of stemmed from my last podcast into this podcast. So. No is the short answer.
Yeah, no, well, that's awesome. First off, congratulations on the kids. It'd be awesome to see your daughter out there hunting one day.
Definitely.
So I started off hunting Samba, and if you ever hunted Samba, you just know how rewarding it is when you don't even see one. Sometimes you just get honked. But the amount of effort it takes in the terrain that they live in, it's just so crazy to think such a big-bodied animal makes so little sound. You learn so much. You learn so many life skills that you just don't get exposed to, even in suburbia. Definitely not in the city. So I started hunting Samba, hunted fallow deer, hunt a lot with my dad, but I also do a lot of solo hunting these days. So when I turned 18, I brought myself a 4-wheel drive, did it up. But now I do a lot more backpack hunting than anything, to be honest, because there's just something so peaceful about spending the night out in the bush and knowing that you get to wake up and right at your feet, you're in hunting territory. It's just, yeah, so beautiful. I've hunted hog deer. I love hunting hog deer as well. I once spent 3 nights up in a tree stand that I could not get down from. That was very humbling. Didn't see an animal at all, but it keeps you coming back, especially when you're not as successful in taking an animal. You're still successful. Being honoured to hunt rusa, cheetal, and then most recently, I've just opened up my love for international hunting. So my dad and I just came back from New Zealand where we went and hunted up in state forest. Most of my hunting is in state forest as well.
Yep.
I've spent a lot of kilometres out there seeing nothing, but still learning. Like you said, you learn from your mistakes. And if I could give anyone some advice, it'd be slow down. You'll be surprised with how much you walk past. And New Zealand is just a whole nother ball game. It's speechless. Like you can't even put it into words. It's so beautiful. And I was really lucky I took 2 chamois and we're heading back the next year for tahr. Just the terrain that they live in, you just can't describe it. And being successful hunting over there, it's so rewarding.
I never ever come back from a hunting trip disappointed.
100%.
Every time I come back, I've learnt something or I've had a really cool experience.
Yeah.
And that just, you touched on it earlier when you were just saying it just to get it out of the modern life and to turn off the phone and get off social media and all the crap that people deal with these days and get out into the bush. It's just so refreshing for me. I just feel recharged. It doesn't matter about the end result for me. And it never has. You know, I'm not, the trophy aspect has never been sort of the thing that drives me.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely wanting to get meat. You know, I really like to try and live as sustainably as possible, and we grow our own veggies and do all that. So that meets the next thing. But even if I don't, it's not that big a deal. I never come back frustrated about missing or not getting a deer. I come back and the wife always says to me, she goes, you can tell you've been hunting because you come back and you're just beaming and you're happy and you can see that it's sort of, you know, it sounds a bit corny, but it's that happy place you get out in the bush.
It is. It's so peaceful. You can't really describe it. And it started off to me with being a time where I could bond with my dad. And now it's a time where I can like really work on myself. And you learn so much out there. And just knowing that when you put food on the table, knowing that I provided food for my family at a young age, at the age of 12, that was so rewarding, being able to know that I know where my food's coming from. I know that it's cooked well, and I provided that food for my family. It was a turning point in my life, and I try to eat as much of a venison-based diet as I can because it's just amazing. It's just delicious.
I was watching a documentary last night on Netflix, and it's on the American food system and all the food poisoning and how much salmonella and E. coli and all that right through it. And I sat there and just went, how much, you know, how important it is to know where your food's coming from. And so many people are no longer in touch with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, you know, you do laugh, but there's the memes out there, all the people that make the comments. You know, there was a great one I loved on, I think it was YouTube or maybe it was Facebook, I don't know, but the bloke sitting there and pulling out the strawberry milk and saying that it was not, it was vegan milk or something because it came from strawberries. And you sort of sit there and just go, oh, my God. And it's funny. I think they did a study in the US asking about, you know, where did chocolate milk come from? And the majority said brown cows. And you sort of have to have a giggle, but it's sort of scary as well that people are not aware of where their food comes from, or that we're so lost. We've lost our way that what was once commonplace is now gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, it fascinates me when I hear the stories that, you know, grandparents had to go hunting or they didn't eat.
Yep.
And, you know, that they used to get on the train or the bus with the gun.
Yep.
And it was open for everybody to see. And imagine doing that now. It's just such an alien thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you actually think about the changes in society from where we were 40, 50 years ago to now. And, you know, where's it going to be in the next 40 or 50 years? You know, you see this grown meat and this lab grown meat and all that sort of crap. And it just, man, it makes me scared. I just sit there and go, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, if that's where we're going and whatnot, you know, you sort of need to be looking after yourself and supplying your own because that's not where I want to end up for sure.
It's all pretty crazy. Yeah, so many people don't know where their food comes from. They just go to the supermarket, pick up a steak, go home. That's it. That's dinner. It's very surprising. Very surprising that people don't even know deer exist in Australia.
Oh, that's a big one.
It's a really big one.
I had no idea, no pun intended, how many people had zero clue that we have deer in Australia. And maybe, hey, look, I didn't probably realise, I knew deer were in Australia, but I didn't really know you could hunt them up until, you know, maybe 8 years or so ago off the top of my head. But I knew they were here, but so many people have no clue.
Yeah, no idea.
And when I talk to people that are non-hunters and I say, I hunt, and they go, what do you hunt? And I go, deer. And they're like, what country?
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, well, you know, I got deer, you know, 100 meters away from my house. Like it's not, they're everywhere. You know, we've got we've got good numbers at the moment, which, a lot of people don't like. But yeah, hey, it's one of those things that, it's a very big eye opener for a lot of people. They just don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think they're uneducated, and I think this is where we can make a change. When you think about it, we have all these uneducated people. They just don't know, and they're not expected to know, which is fair. But when they jump on social media, and all they see is the antis, the greens, and there's so much support of the opposition. I wouldn't say competitors, but our opposition, and there's nothing from us. It's really easy for them to make a decision because they think they're making an informed decision because there's nothing to say otherwise. This is where we need to be on the front foot and have that material there for them so that they can make an informed decision with all relevant documents in front of them. Because if they're not there, we can't blame them.
And you're right. And I see it these days. If you're not on social media, that's where social media and YouTube is the majority of the, I guess, resources that young people especially are using.
Yeah.
And if you're not on there and you're not doing a good job at promoting it and it's not getting out there, then there's an issue. And I've always said that. I've said for a long time we need to be more active on social media and we need to do a better job of, I guess, doing the meat eater style.
Yeah.
Getting it out there in a positive light and being able to say, hey, this is what we need to do to attract new people to hunting, to win over people that are on the fence.
Yep.
But also, I think it's the perfect time now with everything that's gone on in the last few years when the supply chain did, get in trouble during COVID and things like that. And I think a lot of new hunters are on the back of that. This is where we should be trying to capitalize.
Yep.
Younger people that had a bit of that food insecurity. They're people that are potential hunters that maybe we're not reaching because they don't even know. Or, how many people say, oh, venison is gamey? Well, it's not. It baffles me so much. But how many people are not ever exposed to being able to eat it?
Yeah.
That's the question. And that's also something that there needs to be more on it, on how to cook, on how to make a dish. And even if you don't need massive production value. I mean, SSAA are the perfect people to do this. And I know they did one a while back and it needs to be more modernized. It needs to be more current and it needs to be, up on YouTube, pushing on social media because they're where it's at the moment. When you talk to young people and you say about TV, a lot of young people don't even watch TV these days.
Yeah.
That's gone. It's out the window. It's YouTube. It's what's on TikTok. It's what's on Snapchat. It's what's on Facebook. No, actually, Facebook is dying too. That's more the older generation as well. So these are the areas that we need to be focused on. And I don't even think, does SSAA even have a TikTok account? I dare say they probably don't. Well, where's the next generation of shooters and hunters coming from?
Yeah.
And how are you appealing to them? How are you connecting with them? And how are you getting them to come and try? So essentially, we're relying on people to pass it down to their kids. Well, that's great. But when you look at everything, even migration, there's a lot of people coming into the country. They're not going to be people that have hunted here in Australia, that have their gun licenses, that have that. There's so much opportunity out there. We should all be doing our bit to try and get someone into hunting, get someone new to the range, and it's going to be a win-win for us in the long run.
Agreed. And even if they don't take it on, it's about exposing them, and maybe they might tell a friend and it might be for their friend. Or so the word of mouth, we need to change the stigma around hunting and shooting, that it's a male-dominated sport, it's not inclusive, it's scary, guns are scary, because it's not. Like, I'm a prime example. Like, I've been in the community since I was 14. Hasn't been easy, but it can be inclusive, and there are people who want to include others. And I think, it's really important that we change the stigma around that and appeal to the bigger picture, being the families, being the females, being the people that are migrating down here. Like you said, we just got to look at the bigger audience that we have and really connect with them. And like you said, social media is the exact way that we're going to get those people.
Better marketing. We just need far better marketing, because our opposition, I like that word that you used before, opposition, they're doing a damn good job of it. I think the National Feral Deer Action Plan, the cutoff when you had submissions or they gave some feedback. I can't remember the exact date. Whichever one of those days it was, the very next day, the sponsored ads hit Instagram and Facebook. And no, it was definitely the day after submissions of feedback were cut off, because there was no way they looked at those submissions of feedback before launching the campaign. And that's where we need to get better at it. So look, thank you very much for coming on. I wish you all the best and your team over there as well in the upcoming election. It's 3 years. It's a long term. It's a big commitment, especially for someone who is a lot younger than myself. And, I have a lot of respect that you're actually doing that, because as I said before, at your age, that would be the last thing on my mind. So credit to you for doing it. Best of luck in the upcoming election. And I look forward to seeing where you guys head.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Once again, please vote. This is your time to change. If you do give us the opportunity, we promise to make a difference.
I love it. Thanks, Tegan. If you do know someone down in Victoria, give them a tap on the shoulder. If not, pay close attention, because we do need a positive change. All right, guys. Bye for now. If you have a topic, guest, question, or any gear that you want to hear about on the podcast, shoot us an email. AustralianHuntingandBeyond@gmail.com. Alternatively, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All the links are in the show notes. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a review and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.